everyone. It's a pleasure. It's a gift. It's a blessing to be together again with the health, interest, and wish to learn more about ourselves, more about nature. So hopefully we can translate all this wisdom into happiness for ourselves, happiness for our families and all beings. We remember all our teachers with much appreciation for what they have taught us, for all the support they give. We spoke to them recently, and all of them are very happy to know what is happening here, and they send best wishes to you and your families. With that appreciation, we remember them with gratitude. Natalie, to the teacher of all of them, please. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa.
So we're going to continue with today with objects and bases. So objects are also something very interesting because, as you remember, all kinds of chittas must take an object. If there is no object to be aware of, so it's not necessary for chitta to arise. Yes. So object is a very important condition for chitta to arise. So without object, there is no chitta. There is no chitta without object. So always, all kinds of chitta, whatever it may be, whether it is resultant, whether it is kusala or akusala or anything, it may whatever kinds of chitta, there must be always an object. Chitta always takes an object. So today we are going to look at the objects, and if we have enough time, then also the bases.
Without an object, our mind cannot work. Without sights, sounds, the mind is doing nothing. Only when it comes into contact with its own thinking, with it's us looking, it's us listening, it's us taking odory objects or taste objects. Mm-hmm. So the mind, the consciousness starts working with this reality. This is as the mind is always touching something through any of the senses and the mind itself.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So the characteristic of chitta is aware of an object itself, so that's why it must always have an object. Okay, so now everybody ready? Yes, we go into content. Okay, so last week we have talked about a little bit about object already. We have saw some kinds of objects. Now we have 5 kinds of objects here. Let's talk about these 5 kinds first. This is just a little revision because we have seen it already in the last session. So as object, this is very easy to understand. Visible form, something that can be seen, would be object of eye consciousness. No, like the eye will take visible form as object. Then sound, also smell, taste, and tangible object, and it is quite easy to understand. And then we have also seen that visible form, sound, smell, and taste itself is actually, each of them are one of the 28 material properties. Then the Buddha explained that there are 28 kinds of material properties that exist, and these 28 types, what are they? That we will study in chapter 6. So here it will come a little bit by some of them, but not all. So all of them we will study in chapter 6. And so all of these 4 types, it's actually one of each of them is one of the 28 material properties itself. And also we mentioned that last week that the material qualities, just like chitta and cetasika, they don't arise alone. They don't arise like only visible form without any other thing else. No. So the smallest unit is called the inseparable 8. So there are 8 kind of the smallest material, let's say unit. Yes, the smallest unit is composed of 8 types of material quality minimum. Yes, or sometimes more. Just like chitta and cetasika, chitta does not arise without cetasika. Cetasika also does not arise only one lova or one dosa. No, it always have the universal, have the so in the same way. And tangible object is a little bit different than these other ones because each of them they are one type of material property. And tangible object we have seen already last week that it is actually a combination of three types of material property among the four primary elements. Yes. So these are the four primary elements: earth, fire, air, and water. Each of them is one type of material quality, material properties. But earth, fire, air, and water element is not exactly earth or exactly fire, exactly air, exactly water. No, it is more like its characteristic. Yes? So earth, usually we perceive it as hardness and softness. And fire is heat or temperature. Then air is the movement of material quality, and water is cohesion, which is the thing that binds things together, no? That bind things together. Like water, when we put flowers, there are a lot of flower particles. Then when we add water, then it becomes a dough. Yes, then it comes together. So that's the quality of water element that hold things together. So now tangible object is actually the combination of earth, fire, and air element. So whatever we can touch, then these or anything that can be perceived by the body sensitivity is actually the combination of these three elements. Whatever we can touch, material quality is only these three. Yes. So the next last week we have the diri part that actually water element. We cannot touch water element. But water element, the cohesiveness can be understood by the mind only. It cannot be touched by our body sensitivity. Yes. So actually, we have never touched water. Water, whatever we touched, water is actually the earth element, fire element, and air element combination of that. Of course, water element is also there because it holds the water together. But it cannot be touched by the body sensitivity, but it is there. Yes? Okay, until here is just a revision of those elements, those objects that we have seen in the previous session. Now, then we still have mental object that we haven't seen, and so today we are going to start with mental object. And mental object itself is further divided into different types. Now we will see. Now what we call mental objects in Pali is actually called Dhamma objects, Dhamma elements. So Dhamma also can mean many things, no? So whenever we see the word Dhamma, we have to see the content. Sometimes it means nature, everything. Sometimes it means the teaching of the Buddha. Sometimes it just means natural phenomena or something that is in the nature. So all kinds of mind also is Dhamma, Rupa, also it can be Dhamma. So Dhamma here actually is Dhamma objects. But to understand it easily, we can understand that it's every other thing than the five sense objects, everything else. Yes, because so it is visible form, sound, smell, taste, and tangible object have their own category, no? The five categories. So all other things that is not in this five is Dhamma object. Yes?
So just as a reminder, when people ask the Buddha, what do you teach? He says, I teach nature. That's why the word Dhamma he's teaching, he said, I don't invented nothing. I just saw how nature works in the physical aspect and the mental aspect. So I just teach how it works. That's why Dhamma originally is to describe nature, natural phenomenon, whatever happens in the universe. And since he teaches that how it works, then his teaching is called nature. Actually, his what he explained.
I just checked.
He just no prophet, no visionary, nothing. He's just a scientist who had the time to look at it, see how it works, take what brings happiness and freedom, and separate and understand what brings suffering and boundness, slavery, and then he just explained, okay, we all wish happiness and freedom. This is working with nature. This is what you can do to free yourself definitely from the whole thing, cycle of samsara. No more death, No more birth, no more death, no more old age, no more losing anything. Finish. No more suffering.
Okay, so the Dhamma object itself is further divided into 6 kinds. Now, let's look at what is the first type. First type is sensitive matter. Now here, let's not get confused first. Now, sensitive matter, the pasada rupa itself, it helps to know the visible object, let's say, yes? But the eye cannot see the sensitive rupa itself. Yes? Or the ear, it can listen to the sound, but it cannot hear or it cannot see or it cannot smell the sensitive matter itself. So this kind of sensitive matter can only be known by the mind. So it is not, the eye cannot see, we cannot smell, it cannot taste, we cannot touch, yes? Because they themselves helps to see other objects, but they themselves cannot be seen. Yes? So this kind of sensitive matter is one kind of Dhamma object which the mind can know, but the 5 senses cannot know, let's say. Yes?
In terms of biology, for the eyes will be the cones and the rods, the sensitive cells that perceive color and shape, and then for the sound, the little hairs that vibrate when perceived through the water movement, the vibrations of the sound, etc., etc.
That would be the sensitive matter.
It was the
Yes,
sensitive
so-
matter. The eye, these cells receive the form and the shape. These hairs receive the vibration, but they cannot listen to themselves. That's why it's separated. It's like sometimes the teacher gives, have you tried biting your own teeth? Try biting your own teeth. It's impossible. So it's the same thing. The thing that is seen cannot be seen. So it is receiving and then sending the information to the mind. Then consciousness arises out of the contact of the two of them. Object touches the sensitivity, consciousness arises.
Yes. So this, as Bhante said, the eye sensitivity is not the whole eye. It's not the whole eyeball. It's just some part, some material quality inside the eye. Yes. The ear in the same. No, not the whole nose is not the sensitivity. If I touch here, it's more, let's say, body sensitivity because you can feel. Yes. But it's not the smelling. Yes. Yes. Then because body sensitivity is all over the body. Besides hair and nails, no? You already see. Yeah. So the first type of object that can only be known by the mind are sensitive matter itself. Okay. So now let's go to the second type of Dhamma object. The second type is subtle matter. So what is subtle matter? We have just already said that the Buddha explained about 28 kinds of material properties, no? 28 kinds of matters. So among these 28 material properties, 12 of them are said to be gross matter and 16 are said to be subtle matter. So here is just an introduction, no? And in chapter 6 we will go into more details. So what we saw right now, water element is actually one of the subtle matters. So these subtle matters are those that cannot be seen, cannot be perceived by the 5 senses, but can be known by the mind. Yes. So besides water element, there are also what we call the material quality of masculinity or femininity. This is actually some kind of material quality that is spread all over the body of a man or of a woman. So this kind of material quality, have you seen a man walking and a woman walking is a little bit different, yes? Like how they speak or how they behave is a little bit different. So this material quality actually are those material quality that make the man like a man and the woman like a woman.
At the physical level.
At the physical level. And we're talking about matters, no? Rupa, we're talking about material quality now. So these types of material quality of a man is spread all over the man and the woman spread over the woman. So that's why they walk and then they talk, they behave a little bit like woman. Like there is a specific, some kind of difference, no? Like men like this or woman like this, yes? So this kind of material quality is also a subtle matter that the mind can know, but it cannot be seen or cannot by hear, cannot be perceived by the 5 senses.
This masculinity or femininity kinds of matter is subtle, and we can think in the way that is what holds the hormones. For For example, we know that the hormones at some point, even when we are a child, it starts changing, and it gives the features of a male and the features of a female. And especially in the how you say, adolescence, it really changes. Is what makes the vocal cords change, the pubic hair and the shape. So we can think of that matter is what it's ruling that thing. Since we born, we already have this kind of masculine matter or feminine matter. And the Buddha later explained, when there comes an hermaphrodite, a person who has both gonads, the testicles and the ovaries, then they release both hormones. So, but that we will see that later on. But in general, we will have more of one and more of the other.
Actually, this material quality, or in chapter 6 we will go into details. Material qualities, they have different causes. Like what kind of cause this material quality to arise, no? So this masculinity and femininity is actually caused by karma. It's called karma, ja, rupa. Ja means caused or born by. So karma, ja, caused by karma or born by karma.
So in short, we born female or male in this life because of our previous actions. We did something, or we like something about being male or female. And then the mind, there is another story, and it becomes really interesting when we go to the how all the combinations possible.
So it's just about the living beings.
Living beings.
And kind of remember from Kybalion, they speak something about gender, that it's a principle of nature, and it's present in everything. But this is only applying to living beings.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Okay.
Are you going to explain more about what you say that it's subtle matters because the five senses cannot
know, but the mind
That's
can
complicated
know.
to understand for me. Are you going to explain more about that later?
Yes, in chapter 6 we will see very
Okay.
clearly, but now simply because let's say water element, as we saw already, it cannot be seen because it's the
Cohesion can't be seen.
Cannot be seen, cannot be heard, cannot be smelled, cannot be tasted, cannot be touched.
I mean,
It's
the
just
quality of cohesion. Of course, we see the matter together, but we are looking at we are looking at the matter together, but not the bond that is putting the matter together. That's what it's talking about. It's the thing that makes it together. Yes, we see the matter, but we are actually looking at the form. Light projects, and we see, yes, it's together, but we cannot see the bonding of that thing. It cannot be perceived by the senses.
But the mind can understand that, yes. So we're talking about like atomic, no? Like, so you have to put the microscope, and this kind of material quality, just like water element, cannot be perceived by the senses, but the mind can understand it.
There is a quality of male or female in the being, and of course, again, we see the matter. Of course, that's a man or that's a female, clearly, because we know, because of previous contact, we know a male looks like this, has beard or something, or a female looks like this. But we're looking at the matter, not at the thing that made it male or female.
Yes.
Can't be perceived by the five senses, only by the mind. It can be by the mind. We are thinking about it right now, but we cannot see the cause of a girl being a girl or a boy being a boy. Can be perceived, but the mind can understand the whole thing.
Yes. So these are material properties that really exist, but can only be perceived by the mind, not by the five senses.
Direct experience, like smell masculinity. Well, yes. Sometimes you can smell masculinity. After a football match, you can smell masculinity.
Probably girls also.
But actually, it's just smell or something.
It's not that kind of
Yes, not
property,
that thing that made him male or female.
Okay, so there are more kinds of material property. Let's say nutriments. Let's say an apple, there are some nutriments inside, or this property, any kind of material property have some kind of nutriments. So this also can be known by the mind, but not by the taste. Actually, we cannot taste the nutriment. Yes, we can taste the taste, but sweet or sour or bitter, but not the nutrition essence of the thing. Yes, and etc. So 16 kinds.
And it definitely exists, because without this nutriment, we will be dead.
die. Yeah.
We will Thanks to nutriment, we are still energy and alive today.
Yes.
It's present in all matter.
Yes. So there are 16 types. In chapter 6, we'll go into details of each of them. And how about gross matter? Then gross matter is, for example, those ones that we have seen already: earth element, fire element, air element, and the sight and sound. Those things that the five senses can perceive it directly. That's why they are gross. Yes, the subtle ones can be only known by the mind, cannot be known by the five senses. So the gross ones can be known by the five senses. So here, Dhamma element, Dhamma objects, we're talking about objects, mind objects, Dhamma objects. Then subtle matters, this group can only be known by the mind, which is the second group of things that only the mind can know. Yes? Okay, so next go to the third group. The third group is chitta itself. So all kinds of chittas can be known by the mind. And so how? I think everybody has the experience. It is quite easy to understand. When the mind have sati, when it has awareness, let's say for example in this example, with mindfulness or with awareness, it can know that if a rooted consciousness have arisen in the mind itself. Yes? Yes? Then when we observe oneself, then we know, oh, the mind is wanting a lot of ice cream now at the moment. Yes? The mind can know itself. So it is actually taking the other chitta, the lobha mula chitta, as its object at that moment. Yes? But that chitta is past already, let's say. Yes? So because the mind that is knowing at the moment is kusala, no?
It has sati as
it is
universal.
kusala. So when it knows, it can take the past lobha mula chitta as its object.
Something like this.
That is lobha. Lobha is happened.
Lobha
Yes.
just happened, even immediately. Or anger. Oh, I just got angry, and then anger comes again, but it's a kusala. And then kusala with sati. Oh, I'm still anger is present. The mind can know the mind. We can know what we are thinking. The mind can know itself, and there are many layers inside.
So also, not only akusala, in this case lobha mula chitta, but it is also possible to know kusala also, no? Like have just been generous, have been kind, or have been doing good. So kusala chitta also can be known. So the mind, other chittas can know other chittas, let's say. So other chittas can take other types of chittas as its object. Yes. So that's the third type of objects that can be known by the mind itself. And also at the same time, also sometimes the mind can know specific cetasikas. Let's say dosa. Yes. So it might not take the whole chitta as an object, but it takes
Just the ingredient,
cetasika or dosa. Yes. So in this case dosa, or it can also know somanasa or piti and joy and being happy. So it's a specific cetasika that the mind also can know. Yes.
And precisely what we're looking right now, sometimes there are some questions like, what about the consciousness of animals and humans? This precise thing is what separates humans and animals. Animals still feel, animals see, animals take objects, visual objects, sound objects, smell objects, react to them, know them and think about them, and they experience the sensations and feelings. But this very thing is the thing that separates us from animals. We can know that we are knowing, and we can know why we're thinking, and we can, beyond it, we can change it. Animals cannot. Animals will continue just by instinct. It's action, it's cause and effect, action, reaction, action, reaction, action, reaction, and we can have action, and the reaction we can choose. We still have a reaction, but we can go to kusala or akusala. This very thing is what really will make the difference between the two kinds of consciousness. An animal cannot know him or herself, cannot know. That hence cannot develop, hence will stay there for very long until some kusala seed can liberate that consciousness from this animal realm.
Yes. Okay. So the fourth type of Dhamma objects is cetasikas. Yes. So now we have seen four types. Now the first type is sensitive matter, the eye sensitivity, ear sensitivity, and all this sensitive matter. Second type, subtle matter, like water element, femininity, nutrition, and masculinity, like this, and others. And the third type, chitta itself, and the fourth type, cetasikas, that the mind can know, only can know by the mind. Yes? Okay, so let's go to the next type. The fifth type is, yes.
Can I ask, when the mind is knowing itself, it's like taking the objects it takes. It's like memory.
It's a past object.
Yes, it will be using sanya. It
And-
just pass. The mind is what we know is always late because the knowing, for example, anger. If it was akusala, when we know it is kusala because we are knowing, we are present. So they are incompatible. So we will have it, and immediately we can know it, and it perceives that I know that I am angry, but actually the mind is changing from kusala to akusala. It is always late, always late, always in the. When we know the mind, it's always the past one.
So it's like the memory that the anger was present.
Yes,
Anger
you
was
can know
present, yes.
yesterday, like I was angry yesterday,
Or
and then you take that
1 second
next
ago.
day.
It is the long-term memory or the short-term memory that will be knowing that mental state was there.
It will be a past object, not a present object. Yes. Later we will go into those past, present.
When it goes
future
into
objects.
kusala, then the mind can know itself that is being.
Also, it is past
It is-
object. No, the present mind cannot know itself exactly. That exact chitta cannot, because if it is knowing something, that is knowing something else. Yes, it cannot take himself as object. Let's say. Yes. Okay. So the next object that can only be known by the mind is nibbana. So nibbana cannot be seen by the eye, cannot be smelled, cannot be tasted, cannot be touched. So it is sometimes the chittas and its object, they must match. They must match each other. Let's say, for example, the eye, chakku vinyana, eye consciousness, eye chitta can only know visible object. But like we cannot see music. Yes, that is to be known by the ear consciousness. Yes, so the chitta and its object must match. Yes, so when the mind is very pure and with enough wisdom and very stable and calm, then that kind of mind can take nibbana as its object. So it must match. So not all kind of mind can take nibbana as object. No, only maga and phala and chittas. And the supramundane chitta, lokutara chitta, when all the negative, well, sometimes not all, because in the first stage, second stage, no, to some extent the defilements are being taken away. Then those kind of pure mind can take nibbana as its object. So it can only be seen by the mind, not by the eye or by other senses. Yes.
So we can say that the mind is like a radio. It has 6 channels. Sometimes we tune to seeing, then the mind is seeing, then we turn to the station of listening, then the mind is listening. And then we can turn to the station of thinking, and without seeing, without smelling, without touching, we can experience from memory sound, sights, or imagination, planning for the future, remembering the past, all kinds of thinking, creativity, whatever is happening. But there is a very special channel, which is when the mind, a very special frequency, when the mind is totally pure, no defilement, no stain in it, and very, very strongly concentrated and stable, then the how you say, the frequency of nibbana can enter that mind. So actually nibbana,
There's an object
it
always
already
there.
exists. Right now is there. It's like right now all our phones are here. No, everybody has a phone right now. But if they call Eduardo, only his phone will ring. But actually all the other frequencies of all our phones are here right now. All the TV channels are here right now. But only when we tune that phone or that TV to that channel, then they can perceive. For the same happens with our mind. Nibbana exists. It's an ultimate reality. But our radio is so busy with the world, is so busy with doing things, with the wanting things, that we cannot make it so clean of any wanting, any anger and ignorance. So it cannot touch the station of nibbana. But it is present right now. But the only thing we need to do, what we are doing while practicing, is tuning ourselves to purity, tuning ourselves to stability. Then the frequency of nibbana, it will be just natural. We don't need to pull nibbana out. We just need to change our radar, our antenna. We just need to face it on that direction. And as Charana just said, the consciousness, when it is ready and the object matches, and then nibbana will just enter as an experience. Then
The mind takes it actually.
then it is so strong that we won't be the same again. We cannot go back to the world anymore. the mind is transformed by purity. That is by non-created. This is what we're doing, tuning ourselves to Nibbana. Change. You remember in the past, the TV was not working and someone was on top. Oh, a little bit to the left, to the right. That's what we're doing for ourselves. Left, right, Nibbana. Whoosh, Nibbana is gonna come. What is it?
No, we were remembering the movie Contact, and they were
Yes.
finding the signal.
Yes.
Yes.
Just a little bit. Whoosh.
So,
In one moment, we will be able to.
and the instruction menu is the Noble Eightfold Path. Yes, so you have to tune it, follow the Noble Eightfold Path, and you will arrive. Okay, so, yes.
Una preguntita.
Ajá.
Y los que logran estar en ese estado,
Ajá.
Ujú.
Lograron tocar el Nibbana, sí.
ya así se queda todo el tiempo
No,
o bajan o suben o qué.
So the question was the person who arrived to the state and then he touched Nibbana, those consciousness, let's say Maga Phala. Actually, that means enlightened. No, that when the person gets enlightened, does he always stay with Nibbana object? Yes, that's the question. So the answer is no. Because that person, when he gets enlightened, then at that moment of when Maga, which is path consciousness and fruit consciousness, when it arises, it takes Nibbana as object. Then later, after that, then he still have to, let's say he still have to live, he eats and then he sees. So the eye consciousness cannot take Nibbana as object, but he can still see. So those moments that he takes visible object, or when he eats, he takes taste object, and he takes, so when he lives normally, he takes the sense objects as objects. But
he can
access to those kind of mind state and access Nibbana as well. But he don't stay and all the time the mind is Nibbana object is not like that.
He could if he stayed. But so one of the things that happens, your question has like two answers, yes and no. The thing that happens when we touch, when we arrive, when our mind is ready and stable enough, pure enough, we touch Nibbana for the first time, we will be changed forever. We change lineage. The Buddha says that we change lineage from a worldly person, una persona mundana, to a noble one. It will change our lives because at that moment we took desire, we took anger and ignorance out of ourselves. So we are changed. We became a noble being. But we will continue interacting with the world as the Buddha was. He was eating, he was touching, he was seeing. But then he could, because his ability was such, he can go back to touch Nibbana and stay and rest there and experience Nibbana. He can. The door is open, so he can go. So, but he will still interact with the world and have illness and die, not normal like any being. But he can be accessing the Nibbana object, and then he will be rested and experience that they describe as an unconceivable peace and happiness that arise from not becoming anything, from being empty, just there in touch with the non-created. But yes, he's changed for life, but not in the Nibbana object all the time.
Yes. Okay. So shall we continue with the last type of object?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
It
So
was the
Nibbana
most
can
nice.
only be known by the
The
mind.
nicest.
Yes. So we see cannot be known by the five senses.
We cannot smell Nibbana.
Yes.
Although there might be a commercial perfume Nibbana or something like that, there is no, it's not possible.
Okay, so the last type of Dhamma object is concept itself. So concept meaning conventional reality, no? So as we have seen before that there's a tree, a house, a car, and a man, a woman, a cat. So concepts can only be known by the mind. But we may say, no, that's not true. I can see a house, or I can see a cat, I can see a man, so wouldn't that be eye visible object as well? So in this case, no. Why? Because what we see actually through the eye door is only colors and forms. Yes? So what we call house, or what we call man, or what we call dog, this concept can only be known by the mind. Yes? So what we actually seeing in ultimate reality is not really a house. It's only material qualities. Then what we can see is a visible object, the visible quality, the visible property of the material quality is what we can see. Yes.
We have never seen a house. We have
Through
only
the eye,
we have seen matter, and the mind makes up. Oh, this is a house. The concept of house. But we have never seen house in itself. We have never seen banana. We have only seen yellow, crooked, untouched, smooth or something. But
Yes.
the concept comes. We don't eat banana. We eat sweetness,
softness.
much softness, munchy or something, coldness. That's what we eat really. But the concept banana, it's only the mind doing. But it does it at the same time and so quickly that we say banana, but actually banana doesn't exist. Nothing. No
Nobody
carpet,
had ever
no
eaten
dog,
a
nothing.
banana actually.
No, you have never eaten in your life. You have
Any
never
banana.
eaten any banana.
Yes,
So that could be language, no? Because language is what gives the
Yes.
Language as well
It's
as
another
the form,
kind of.
no?
It's there are two
Yes.
kinds of concepts: the thing itself and the name of the thing.
Thing concept and name,
And name concept. We will get to that. Don't worry. We will get to that.
And the name of the
There is. This is the thing.
Uh-huh.
The thing is a thing. It exists. But the
We
thing
put a
concept
name on it.
and the name concept is cojín, and for an American person will be cushion
Ah, right.
or something. So
Yeah.
the concept is different. So, but the thing, everybody will see, and even we are with a Chinese person, we both know the thing. But then the concept, the name of the thing, it will be different. So there are two
Oh.
kinds of layers
But
of conceptuality.
still, this thing, what we see, this square thing,
It
is
doesn't
still a
exist.
thing concept.
Yeah.
Yes, because it also does not exist. What really
It's-
exists in ultimate reality is only material quality.
Does that include not only visible concepts, but such like abstract conceptions like freedom and
Yes.
Yes, especially
All
that.
kinds of concepts.
And for example, freedom, we know freedom has a sensation of not holding, moving, and then freedom is the name still concept, the thing and the concept. So there are many layers for conceptuality,
Yes.
and none of them exist. It's just conceptual reality. In ultimate reality,
Mhm.
ultimate reality is
Only
only
four.
nama,
Chitta,
rupa,
chitta,
chitta, chitasika, rupa, and nibbana.
nibbana.
There are only
Only
four
four.
things exist in the universe. Chitta,
Ultimate.
consciousness, the ingredients of the consciousness, that means mind itself. Mind exists. Rupa, which is matter,
Material
and
quality.
nibbana. Only four things exist. All the things that we know and call concept, non-real, just an
Made up
imagination.
of this, no? Made up of this.
And it changes through fashion. At this age, we speak about things that we didn't spoke 30 years ago, and now are a reality, a word, a thing, or a situation.
Yes. Okay, so very clearly, I think all of us understand already, concept cannot be seen by the eyes, yes? Only the mind can know concepts, yes? Okay, so the 6 kinds of Dhamma objects in brief summary are, first the sensitive matter the mind can know, but the 5 senses cannot know. Then 16 kinds of subtle matters, etc. We will see in the 6th chapter. Then chittas itself,
Which we saw.
and chetasikas, and nibbana, and concepts. Okay, so these are the 6 types of 6 categories under the category of Dhamma objects, which can be known only by the mind, not by the 5 senses.
Okay.
Yes?
Yeah, so it's only subtle matters there and not gross.
No,
because
gross
those
matter
are-
because can known by
Oh, okay.
eye, no? Can known
Yeah,
by
I got confused there when we saw them when we
together.
saw
Yes,
both,
yes, yes.
but now I understand.
Yeah, remember
Subtle
that is the
matter.
sensitivity, not the sight or the sound itself.
Yeah.
The other thing is gross. The sense he can touch the sense is gross, and the mind is thinking about it. It's very soft, very quick, very fast.
Earth element, those can be touched, no? Earth element and temperature, fire element, and all taste or sound and things can be known by the senses. So it is not included. The gross matter is not included, only subtle matters. Yes? Okay, so these are the 6 kinds of Dhamma objects. So altogether, in brief, any kind of objects, all kinds of objects are included here in these 6 categories. Yes, visible objects, visible form, sound, smell, taste, tangible object, whatever can be touched, which is the 3 combination of the 3 primary elements, and all the other ones, and mind object. Yes, mental object.
So finally, the mind, whatever experience reality, the mind, it can be known by the mind. The mind it doesn't mean that the mind knows everything, but the mind can perceive whatever can be perceived in this realm. We can say that whatever can be experienced in life, it's not whatever we have lived ever and will experience will be perceived by the mind. If the mind is not perceiving it, it's absent. So let's just remember that in terms of sight, and sound, there are many frequencies that we cannot catch. We only see the visible spectrum, the 7 colors of the rainbow. That's the only thing we see. But there are X-rays and gamma rays and ultraviolet and infrared. Ultraviolet more than there, and infrared more than here, that we cannot perceive. From the ability that as a humans we can see, everything can be experienced by the mind, but there is a lot, much more in the universe that won't be able to perceive ever, because of the limitations of the size of our body and of the kind of senses that we carry.
Yeah, like dog smells much more than...
Yes, snakes can see heat, so we cannot see the heat. So there are many things that even animals are much better than us. So let's keep it that way. The universe is, although the mind can perceive everything that we can have as a reality, there are many things that we won't be able as humans to perceive unless we develop and have the jhanas, and then the minds, because the mind is so strong and so wide and so stable that it starts perceiving different kinds of realms even, or beings, or some other thing.
Yes, so we just mentioned that all kinds of cheetahs must have an object, yes? So just remember that all kinds of cheetahs must take any of one of these as its object. So there's only 6 categories of objects that can be taken by the mind, yes? Because these are actually also mind, because it's eye consciousness take visible object, no? It's not the eye that take visible object. Otherwise, if we take out the eyeball and put it on the table, but it cannot see anything. Yes, so actually it is still mind, yes, but it's eye consciousness that take visible objects. So everything actually is mind here. The physical part is only a support for these minds.
We are the mind, actually. We cannot live with, we are the mind. I mean, it's not ours, but the mind is the reality. If the mind doesn't perceive, it doesn't exist for the mind in our experience. It's tricky. That's why the Buddha says that mind is the forerunner of everything. If we have a pure mind, if we have an impure mind, suffering will follow us like the foot of the ox following the wheel of the cart. And if we act and think with a pure mind, happiness will follow us like our inseparable shadow. It will naturally. So we need to check what kind of mental state we are having, so that will be the reality that we will experience in all senses, in now and in the future. Really, everything depends on mind. Mind, consciousness is knowing. Nothing is really moving. Only mind.
Yes, so very interesting about objects, and more interesting things are coming here. Advertisement. Okay, so let's see. Now we have seen that visible object. Now we just said that just as a summary revision. Visible object is taken by what kind of mind? Eye consciousness. Yes, eye consciousness. Okay. So eye consciousness. How many types of eye consciousness are there?
Sure.
How many? Sorry, can
How
you?
many types of eye consciousness are there?
2. Depending.
It's a kusala vipaka or akusala vipaka. Yes. So it can be resultant of wholesome karma, or resultant of unwholesome karma. So when we see
Beautiful.
desirable or pleasant objects, and when we see undesirable objects, no, that is these ones are resultant consciousness.
Planted by our own actions. We did good, we see
Good or
pleasurable. We did bad, we see unpleasant.
Okay. So sound, ear consciousness, and smell by nose consciousness,
Same.
and taste, tongue consciousness, and touch,
Tangible.
body consciousness, and
2 kinds.
other types of cheetahs can perceive all other kinds of objects, yes. But mind also, cheetah also, other types of cheetahs other than these types of 5 pancha vinyana, three pancha vinyana, the 2 sets of 5-fold sense consciousness can know this kind of object, but actually other minds can also know this object. Yes,
As
so
a
now
memory, then it will
present
come
also.
like a, but as the mind will be knowing the thing.
Now we will go and see why and how. Yes. Okay. So actually the mind can know all this and all this as well. Yes, are the mind. So, okay.
So these are just the doors. You see, it's just coming in, but the mind is the one knowing. The eyes don't see, the ears doesn't hear. They just pass information, and the mind, the consciousness, is doing the whole thing. The whole experience is mind. No.
So let's see how other objects, other chittas besides, very obviously, eye consciousness take visible object. Yes. So let's see what other kinds of chittas can take visible object. A sense object, yes. So let's say the eye door mental process. Let's take the seeing as an example. So we have already very familiar with this mental process, yes. Okay, now in the mental process, the object of the eye door mental process is obviously a sight, no, a visible object, yes. Now in this eye door process, from all the active chitta, which is from bhavanga is non-active, no, we said. So from the 5 door averting consciousness, pancha, dwara, awajana chitta, from here, from the turning until tadaramana, all these are active chitta of this mind door process, yes. So actually, all these chittas, it take the same visible object as its object, because it is an eye door process, yes? So it is turning to what? Turning to the visible object. Then the eye obviously take the visible object, and the receive what? Receive the same object, yes? Receive the eye visible object, and it investigate what? Investigate that object. They determine what that object, and what it react to that object, no? So Tadavana take the same type of object as Javana, so it also take this object. So that's why in the eye door process, the whole process, even there are different kinds of chittas, they take the same object, the visible object. And in this case, if it is an eye door mental process, it must be a present visible object. Yes, because the eye can the eye see something pass? It cannot see the let's say sunset of yesterday. Possible or not possible? It cannot. The eye cannot see. The mind can imagine or can remember, but the eye itself cannot see. The eye can see something in the future, or cannot see like the sunrise of tomorrow. Not possible. Yes, we can imagine. Yes. So in this case, in this specific eye door mental process, which is present, the object is always a present visible object, something that is here now. Yes.
Ultimate reality, really there.
Yes.
How does it work in the dreams? Like if we are
Mind.
That's mind.
That's mind.
The eye is
mind,
not
but
seeing
even though
something.
we believe that we're seeing that right now. And
We see by the mind.
Yeah, that we believe, that's moha.
If,
But the memories, the mind can remember odors, the mind can remember sounds, the mind can remember sights, and the sensation of a touch, but it's not really touching, it's not really seeing, it's not really smelling, but the mind believes in itself. So that the process feels like reality,
Yes.
because the mind knows them very well, but actually it's not really happening. It's a mental object happening in the mind. Yes, the mental object of the memory of the sight, it's real, and the mind is knowing it at that time, but the sight itself, we have the eyes closed, it's impossible.
so if it is something that is really can be seen, is a present visible object, then Cass can see your dream as well. In that case.
Whoa. I really like
Yes,
that.
if it is a really present visible object, then all of us can see. If it is really, no, like this, let's say this screen, it is a present visible object, so all of us can see it. But those dreams that happens only in my mind, then you cannot see it. So it's not really a present visible object.
It's actually an
Or an
hallucination.
imagination.
The mind is
Mind
seeing
object.
something that is not present. The same happens when we think about the past, the mind is hallucinating, and when we think about the future, technically the mind is hallucinating. It's not really experiencing reality, what is coming, happening at the very moment.
So here with this example, now we understand that not only Chaku Vijnana take visible object as its object, because all these other, which is not I, also take the present visible object as its object. Yes, because they are from the same process. Okay? Yes? So this one, let's say, only take visible object as object, but this one can take anything. If let's say we change this into sound, that it would be ear consciousness, then all these would take ear
Sound.
as object. Yes. So all these other chitta can take all kinds of objects as objects.
And then the
Yes.
Javana will do its job, like, dislike, or neutrality. We'll say it's fine.
Yes. So that's why we said that I just said
All
that
the
now
senses.
all the senses, then it will change, and then all the process here will change according to the object, according to the which kind of the mental process, eye door, ear door, nose door, or tongue door, no, in according to the door, then those objects will change. Yes.
So I think by now we are getting a very good sense of what is mental object and what is sense object, and how the mind takes the sense object as its object later on. It's like starting to get like matter, physical thing, physical reality, and mental reality. They work together, but they are not the same. They are different, but they are always functioning in team.
Okay, so depending on this, which kind of door process it is, then all from the active
Part.
chittas of the mental process will take the same object. Yes, so we are clear about this. Yes.
But then you can say that it's depending on the turning.
Yes, actually depending on the object, because if
there is no object
Bhavanga
that
is
knocks
shaking,
the
if
door,
there is a sound, then here it will turn. It will turn to the sound, and so here it will appear this, will not appear that. Yeah, so depend on the object. Actually.
So it is actually the object that wakes up the mind. Talk, 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 sight. Talk, 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 smell. And then the mind, smell. And then, experience consciousness of smelling. Then the liking or disliking, whatever active part is there, but then goes back to sleep. And then it needs the object to come. So we need our senses to be alive, to talk, to knock the door. Then the door will open.
Yes. I said not depending on this one, because this one just turn to whatever it's available. So depend on the object itself. Yes. So if sound is available, then it turns to the sound. If smell is available, it turns to the smell. So its job is only turning. Then because of the turning, of course, it turns to what? Then it's this one's also depend on this one. Like which one arise depends on the object. Yes. If it is a sight object, then nose will not arise here. Yes. Nose consciousness. Yes.
For some of
Something
them
else?
can be one first and then another. Let's say for tasting.
Tasting.
Voy a probar un helado,
Uh-huh.
¿no? Pero primero lo vi.
Yes.
Yes.
It was
Different
first.
process.
And then
Sing,
Different
sing,
process.
sing,
Uh-huh.
sing, tasting, tasting, tasting,
Uh-huh.
tasting, thinking,
Smelling or happens a lot, but in a different process, no?
Yes.
Yes. Here I just put them together because they happen in the same position, but they never happened at the same time.
Yes.
Yes,
Actually,
different
we will be
process.
sing, 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 reaching, 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 touching,
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 touching.
looking, smelling, tasting, tasting, thinking, liking, loba, more. So it will be like the mind is doing the thinking and the seeing and the touching and the smelling and the sensing and the temperature and the thinking of it as a whole experience. The mind, looking through the senses.
Many processes happening very quickly.
And if you eat chicharrón, it will be listening. Also listen. So it will be like.
Yes. Just 1 minute.
Yeah.
Clear? Yes. Okay.
¿Qué pasó, Andreita? Are you okay?
Yeah, because it shows how little free will we have. It's
Yes.
It all depends on the objects.
Yes.
Okay.
Aramana Pacheo.
Aramana Pachayena Pachayo. In chapter 8, in chapter 8 we will see, and my friends, if there is no wisdom here, if we don't introduce wisdom into our lives, we are not very different from animals. Really. If there is no wisdom and awareness and thinking of what is happening, animals and us just instinct and just surviving. We just survive. Object, okay, looking, listening, just going. So this is how important the Buddha says we must awake to the present and be guiding the process. Otherwise, no free will, no direction, and mostly, since doing wrong is easier than doing right, it will just go down and down and down, or just continue rolling in samsara, rolling in suffering. As long as we don't put something here of wisdom, this thing will just be rolling. Because objects, in samsara, they will be endless. We will never finish all what there is to see. We will never finish what there is to listen or to taste. So objects will be forever. So we must do something and start taking the reins, the las riendas of the process. Otherwise, animals and us, not much.
And at the same time, it is very important because now we are looking at the functioning of the mind, as how mind works, the causes and conditions for mind to arise. So this is actually Abhidhamma is the teaching of anatta, is non-self. It is because of cause, because of condition, because of object, not because I want to see, I see. It's because of the object that Chakuvayana arises. Then I consciousness arises. If there is no object or no seeing object, if there is a very dark room, totally no light, even if I want to see, I cannot see. There's nothing to see. There is not enough conditions for seeing consciousness to arise. So actually everything that we believe to be I, believe to be myself, believe to be my free will is actually conditions.
And in this life,
That's why the Buddha said it is non-self. This is the understanding of anatta.
nature is happening.
Through understanding the functioning of the mind, how it works, how reality really works, then we understand. This is the helping for us to understand how it is not us, how it is not self, how the I does not really exist. It's anatta.
The I, not the I, but the I.
So how is it possible to hold on concentration and attention if there is no like volition in those first?
In these ones,
These
no,
no.
but here, yes.
But there,
for
yeah,
example,
Yamana you
Jhana,
can.
yes.
Which is the one
once
that
I
is
hear
planted.
something, I cannot decide not to hear it
No,
No,
can you?
or smell it
cannot.
or
Can
see
you?
it.
We cannot. We cannot ask the eyes to stop. When we close the eyes, we see black, and we open. And when the eyes is, since we born until we die, the eyes are working. The ears are working 24 hours, 365 days a year. So it is always on as long as it is working. When we get something that goes problem, then we are blind and it's not working anymore, not bringing.
Then I consciousness cannot
Objects.
arise.
But if we
But-
deviate our attention to something else, then there could be certain volition applied to that part. For example, if I'm meditating. And
Yes, you can change the attention, but the mind is on mind object. You remember the jhanas? It stopped looking at, it stopped having the physical object, and now the mind is in the mind. But the mind always needs an object, be it gross, the senses, seeing, listening, etc., or the mind itself. That's why when it is in very high meditative stages, the mind is thinking on a concept, on itself. It's not depending on a. That's why people may report when they are meditating, wow, I felt that the body was not there. It's not that the body was there. Teacher says, open your eyes, is the body there? Oh yeah, teacher, the body is there. He says, it's not that the body is not there. The perception of the body and the sensation of the body, now the mind is so focused on the mind itself that you feel that you're not breathing sometimes. So people sometimes get afraid. Oh teacher, I was meditating and suddenly I was not breathing. And teacher said, no, don't. You were, of course, did you die? No, I didn't die. So then you were breathing, definitely. So you were not perceiving the sensation and the movement of the breath because the mind was focused on the mind itself. So yes, you can decide and start changing, and that's part of the process to refine the thing, to refine and not depend solely onto gross. Give me sound, give me taste, give me smell, nice, pleasurable, worldly, low.
And
It's how the teachers, I'm in the process, I cannot say that definitely because I still have a lot of ignorance, but the teachers definitely, the Buddha definitely said that that's the kind of happiness that we get through the senses compared to the happiness that can spring from mental stability and love has nothing to do. Very low quality of happiness we receive. So, yeah, right, okay?
and it is
Yeah.
concerning what
Just listen.
Alex was saying, and it depends on your niso manasikara, that means wise attention. Of course, there is objects, many kinds of objects. There are good things to see, there are bad things to see. Then the mind, because of its wise attention, because of wisdom, then one choose. If I see in a sense, no, the guiding, then you see the good things and not see the bad things. Because what we said that there is no control is whenever the object is present, then I consciousness will be there. If you show him a bad thing, then I consciousness must arise because there is the object, and we cannot control that. If there is bad thing, I consciousness shut down. It's not possible. Yes. So choosing what to see or what to listen or what, then this is depend on the yoniso manasikara, depends on wise attention, depends on panya, depends on wisdom.
That's what I was saying. If we don't introduce wisdom over there, we are just living, no will, just instinct, just surviving, not really living and guiding this process. That is the awakening to start inserting goodness, nobility, how we say not nobility, like noble ingredients onto the process and start planting good, so it will come good for ourselves and for others.
Okay.
Everybody
Yes.
okay?
Yes.
Everybody a little bit like.
More
That's
to
very
come,
good.
more to
That's
come.
very good. More to come.
Okay, so shall we continue? Yes, until here, everybody okay? Okay.
Good.
Okay, so
Abhidhamma
The-
very nice, ne? Abhidhamma very good, very nice. I like.
So-
Samanata.
in the
Good. Go ahead, Charana. I got the Stevie Wonder thing. It's like, good.
okay, so in the five door process, so that means not mine, no? Yes, here and now here it is 5 sense process. Those object must be a present object. As we said already, we cannot see the sunrise of yesterday, or we cannot smell something yesterday, or we cannot taste the ice cream last year or something. No, we can remember, but that's mine. Yes, so that's not the 5 sense or process. If it is through the 5 sense, it must be a present object. Yes, it must be now here present. Okay. Now, so we have already seen that through the I-door process, all those chittas that arises through the I-door process takes visible, present visible form as its object. Yes. So all those that arises through the ear door, so not only ear consciousness, no, all the receiving and all those jhavanas that as we've seen already, all those that takes sound as object, and the same way nose and tongue,
Taste.
taste and
Tangible.
tangible object. So there's no problem here. And for mind door, all those that arises through the mind door can take all the Dhamma objects that we have seen 6 types, and also the sound, sight, taste, and all these objects is also possible.
The mind
Yes,
can.
can also know.
So finally, my dear family, this is us, mind and matter. This has something to do with matter, external thing, you touch, you smell, you sense it, and mind, mente y materia, nama and rupa. That's it. The only thing we experience is through it, and most of the virtue or troubles happen in this one. This is the most important because the one receiving the whole.
Okay, yes.
I would like to know how can you explain intuition as a perception that you have of things that you don't see and perhaps you don't even think about it.
Well, intuition, actually, the Buddha never mentioned anything as intuition. It's just only the mind thinking about something.
It's imagination, actually. And very often, unfortunately, intuition is the elegant way to say fear. Many people, it recently happened in 2 separate persons, is like, we receive a question, oh, I would like to ask something. A person was invited to a trip to the somewhere in the coast. So then that person was saying like, oh, I have the intuition that something might go wrong. So what to do? Should I trust intuition or what to do? And then we start taking elements. So finally, the mind was intuiting something negative projected by the future. He was not he was not having intuition, I will have a wonderful vacation. He was having something might happen in the
Sometimes
road.
something may also.
So actually, it was the way, very often in our culture at least, we very often say, I have the intuition of something. Actually, technically we should be saying, I am afraid of something. Tengo temor de algo. Temo esto que pase. And we mask it because we are not comfortable saying that we are afraid. So often intuition is go like that. Finally, that person decided to go to the trip. Nothing happened. It was a great vacation, no crash, no anything. So then when we returned, we had the opportunity to talk again. And I say, so what happened with intuition? And he says, actually, it was just fear. It was just, I was afraid of something. And when intuition comes, teachers never talk or encourage, because intuition, once we start believing that we have something, 2 negative things happen. The first one is mana. And we have seen many people who trust so much in their intuition that they start distancing from others. Oh, I can perceive, I can see the aura, I can see this, I can know that, and I have intuition for this and that. Ego starts moving, and there are some points when the mind is not holding that tendency, people get a little bit wacky. It was a little bit like little bit bananas believing in something. And why? Because superstition the best way for the best ground for superstition to come in is to believe into something that can't be seen. And once a person starts believing in superstition, any kind of fear can come, any kind of paranoia can come. If paranoia can come, even suicide can happen. So teacher says, intuition, you better stop with it and deal with the reality. No intuition, nothing special, just deal with the thing, what is really happening, deal with it and cultivate goodness out of the ground, from the soil. This is something that...
Yes, and I wanted to add something, and sometimes there are cases also, if you're walking in a forest and there are two ways and say which way to go, intuition say this way, actually no. So this kind of not really so much like I'm afraid of that way, so I go this way. But maybe it is also possible. So it's actually only the mind thinking because of some kind of reason that we are not aware of. The mind make a decision that I want to go this way, and then you say I was intuition that I should go this way. But actually it's just the mind thinking about something and decide to go that way.
And how about the, so we'll call it, the sixth sense, the female
Does
sixth
not
sense?
exist.
No.
No?
Only the mind.
I have a real knowledge of that. They
No.
are so female.
No.
They catch so many things
No.
just like that.
They must be more sensitive. Sensitive, yes. Thoughtful, yes. But something extra, not possible. Only 6 senses for everyone, male and female. 5 for the doors and 1 of the mind, which is the sixth sense. The Buddha did not give any more credit to the mind than the eyes or the ears. It's just something that holds an object and knows the object. The cheetah knows the object. That's it. No.
Actually, it is something which is, I would say, not very. We should not give. I personally, I don't think we should give a good credit to this kind of intuition. Even it can be right. It can be right sometimes, but because the mind kind of knows something, but it does not know why. So there is no wisdom. It has something like that, but maybe like that, or I guess, or something. No, so there is no wisdom there because you think that okay, it's going to work like this, like this. If the mind is clear, if there is wisdom, then we are sure. It's not like I guess or I
Bam,
maybe
it's
or
like
that.
certain.
So it's not something that is such with such like highly.
A vague mental environment as intuition or the sixth sense, it's a ground for superstition,
Something that we don't know.
intuition, and putting whatever I don't know, just put it into intuition. Just put it into the magical, just put it into something. Then the fact that we cannot know some things is a fact, but it does. The fact that we don't know something now, it doesn't mean that we cannot know it. The Buddha, once the Buddha developed such a mental stability, what we have spoke about this before, what we call the unconscious, actually he said, no, there is no unconscious. We know or not know, but that doesn't mean that it can be known later on when the mind is very, very stable. So the teachers are very emphatic about it, not to encourage anyone to think on that way, because mental instability is bound to come sooner or later. Mana, ego, difference from the other, and superstition, fear, wrong views, because we start believing onto intuition. The mind can imagine so many things. So if we start believing on it, that paranoia arises easily. So if we don't hold the mind onto reality, dangerous teachers. Our teacher, El Tajania, is very afraid. I have seen fear in his eyes, not of himself. When he sees some qualities in the student, he says, man, trouble coming. And when the student really believes, no, I'm really seeing, teacher, I'm really seeing, I see the people and I see the aura and I think about this, and you can see his face between what to do and kind of at the same time like, oh, it's a work to be done. Otherwise, the mind is loose, is out of touch with reality. And it can believe and sink into itself, trouble. Yes.
Two things in different directions. In one direction, sometimes as I see things, is there is wisdom. It's not fear what is behind. It's wisdom that you know something in some level of your mind, and that tells you that something can happen.
As a possibility, 50-50. Yes, of course.
Yes.
You take a trip, you can have an
example.
example. Yeah.
I remember my mother one time that she fell down and broke her arm, and she told me that she called intuition, but I can say wisdom, that if I wear this kind of shoes, that are like I can fall down because
Sleep.
That's understanding, that's not
Uh-huh.
intuition.
Yes.
And then?
But there's something that came to your mind that tells you that something can happen, or also with a car.
But that's
It's not
wisdom.
fear, it's wisdom.
It's
That's
wisdom.
what I say is wisdom. That something can happen if I go in carretera, no? I
Like
go
to
to
the
highway
road,
in this car that maybe something in the engine is not working well and I can have an accident. But it's not fear, is reality
It's
that something
preparation,
can
yes.
happen.
Yes.
If she knows that something is really wrong with the engine, she already know that the car is not working, then that's understanding.
Uh-huh.
But if their car is fine, but then it's just
Yes.
imagining that the
Or-
engine is
That's
going to
what I
break,
say,
then,
Yes.
then
It's
that
not
is
the base is not fear,
fear.
it's based on wisdom, that I know that something can happen. But okay.
And then that for example, just to make a pause. You know the possibilities there. We're not saying that nothing will happen. Yes, 50% that you will crash, 50% that you won't crash, because once you go out of the house, that risk exists even if we're going to the corner.
Yes, of course.
So then you know that, and then
Mhm.
if knowing that kind of common sense makes you check your car, fine, that's wisdom and common sense, but not something that you are getting from somewhere.
Yes.
And I was, just to be precise, I was talking in that case, I'm not generalizing, but in many of the cases, because we have seen many, and in the past I used to do the same, fear was addressed as intuition. And in that case, definitely, and
Yes,
the
I
person by
understand.
herself says, yes, I was afraid because nothing happened. And then, you will-
And then in another direction, there is an institute in California, in Northern California, that are researching a lot with all kind of equipments, with electrodes in the mind, with some pure science, with images, that the heart, what they are studying is the mind connected with the heart, that the heart knows many times before
Something
the image appears, because they can research what is happening, and they call intuition to that aspect. So before they put images random in a computer, some images like a snake or a very nice puppy or a kitten. So the body reacts before the image appear in one direction or in another direction. So there are studies now, science there, that are saying that intuition is real.
we can say something to add. We don't know how much we can perceive. Yes,
The mind is very
the mind is very quick, and also in the heart there are neurons. There are neurons there.
Exactly.
So often the heart reacts
Exactly.
faster than the neurons of the brain.
Exactly.
It comes there. That's why they're
Yeah.
doing this kind of research.
We will
It
see
is
something
true,
also
and the mind can
today.
see it, and it's so fast that
Okay.
they are
It's a
measuring here.
different way of calling,
Perception,
maybe.
yes,
okay.
some people perceives much more than others. This is what I was calling when
Okay.
you say about sixth sense. Yes, but it doesn't mean we can generalize, because a dull woman, I'm saying, a person that is not very bright, a male can be more perceivable, or a woman. And yes, I dare to say that because of the desire that as males we carry, we have much more, the hormones, sexual hormones distract much more the mind than a female. So in general, we can say the female in that sense, because he has less distraction throughout their lives about sexual activity, which is something that bugs the male mind. I would say that yes, in general they are more sensitive, and they are more caring. They have better, in general,
Okay.
they have better emotional intelligence, because evolutionary, that was the joy. The joy was to take it. They are in the cave. The male is fighting outside, adrenaline and killing things. I'm sorry for the image. And then the woman is taking care of what do you feel, healing. So all that tendency is evolutionary, but it makes us that way. But it doesn't mean that a male cannot be more sensitive than a female. Actually, when the teachers develop compassion, love, they reach some degrees that has nothing to do with gender. So our potential is big, our sensitivity is big, and we can increase it. But to call it intuition, something that comes, I'm not
So it's
totally
just
sure.
the
No.
word.
It's just the
Yes.
word,
It's
final,
a
but
word.
Yeah.
sensitivity.
Yes,
And
okay.
the heart definitely thinks,
Yes.
actually the heart thinks, because
Yes.
there is a nervous system in the heart as
Yes.
well. And the heart thinks faster than the brain.
Yes.
So, and there are
Yes.
physical proof that there is,
Yes.
and when we arrive to the sixth chapter, you will be shocked that the base of the mind,
No, that's sixth chapter actually next week.
and next week, sorry, in the fourth chapter, you know, my friends, get ready your bees and your spiders and all these things, because we are about to kick. The base of the mind is the heart.
Yes.
That's what the teacher says, but there is a great, we cannot say yes, yes.
Actually, if
There
we
is a
have
great
enough time, we'll
controversy.
go
There is a
into
great
that.
controversy, but there are many sayings in the Abhidhamma. It is said that the thing that holds the mind is not the brain, but the heart.
Yes.
We will write there, let's not say yes because there are great controversy with good points in both sides. Ay, se va a poner esto.
Actually, this
¿Por qué
is,
nos metimos en esto? Vamos a salir bien, señora.
Well, yes, so the heart base,
Se pone.
it's about object and about base. So when we finish the object, we will go to the base. so it probably today won't be have enough
Are
time.
we
I think.
taking?
Yes, won't have enough time, so maybe next week. But now just finish with another slide and we'll go for a tea. And then there are still something very interesting about objects that we have to see, which is we haven't seen yet. And it's interesting about rebirth.
Can I
Okay.
add something related to
To the yes.
Yeah, sorry, it was a very interesting question to me as well. But what about the possibility of if we are perceiving through the senses, and as you mentioned, there are so many things that our senses cannot, but there are some other realities interacting with ours, or maybe present in different
Yes,
realms.
yes. And at some point, yes,
Yeah, that we might kind of
perceive,
sync
have a
up
glimpse.
or have a glimpse
Yes.
about messages or intentions from beings from other realms, and we call that intuition. For example,
But that's perception. You
Yes.
suddenly perceive it.
That the
If
mind
it was real, let it
Yeah.
be. And even the teacher has says sometimes out of if you are meditating and your mind is very stable, you might open the eyes and then you might see beings around you.
Visible
Yes.
object.
And
Yeah.
they might be right now here listening to this.
Yeah.
But now we are on this and we don't see them. But the mind is so stable suddenly. As I mentioned before, I have a rule in the 227 rules that I have as a monk. One is so intriguing, and it says, if the mind is stable, and it so happened that you see a being that is not a human being, not an animal, the only person you can tell that is to your teacher. I cannot go and tell "Chararay, chararay," or anybody because of the turmoil that it can create. Imagine, it's serious. Imagine for the discipline code for the Vinaya to have that rule. So yes, we can perceive that thing, but we cannot go it was because of we are special or superstitious.
It's
The mind
an
was very
invisible
sensitive,
object.
and the antenna was on that frequency, and suddenly it saw a thing, it listened a thing, it thought a thing. But it's not something magical, nothing. It's just the perception increased, and then the mind returned to normal perception, and we might believe something, but something.
yeah, well, that sometimes we don't even know that we perceive it. That's why
Yes.
maybe that's why we could call intuition. You might
Yes,
perceive
correct.
it. You might get a glimpse or a message from
Mhm.
some other being, and the possibility that also time we're forced to perceive it in a linear way. So if we call intuition something that was about to happen and we just avoid it, for like example, if you're driving, you're not really afraid, but for some reason you pull the brake in a place where you don't usually do it, and you just avoid like running over someone or
Yes.
having or crashing against someone.
I would say that the mind is so quick that
The
it
mind is
perceives
fast,
something.
it's already.
Yeah.
There was one Formula One pilot one time. So they are running 300 and something kilometers per hour. So it is a speed that they must have a reflexes, and it is unbelievable. So then they are coming, and on a turn there is a crash right there. So the guy is coming 350 kilometers in the back. So he said, they asked him how, because he comes and he avoids the thing, and everybody call him the magician, because he said, how on earth would you able to know that there was a collision right there? You were coming 1 second behind, and he clearly, before the turn, he goes out and avoid the thing. And then he says, no magic at all, I smell grass. He was coming, and the smell of grass was already when the car crashed and gone into the grass. He was coming. He said, I'm not magician, I just smell grass, so I know there is something just happened, and it comes. So instead of I will go, because I'm afraid of intuition personally, and I take responsibility. I will not encourage anyone to use the word intuition. Heightened sensitivity, yes.
Is that, yes.
Heightened sensitivity,
Yes.
very refined sensitivity, so be it. But based on reality.
Or so
Once we
fast
start
the
believing
mind
on
that,
something,
that we don't even realize.
we don't
but the mind
realize,
already
but the
knew
mind
it.
knows already. A shadow, a movement, it can be a sense of sound. I mean, the mind can see, and especially when we are really concentrated, my friends, my dear family, let's be ready. If we continue developing ourselves, what we perceive right now, what we feel the feelings of the other person, suffering, happiness, understanding of nature, it's nothing right now. Regarding the potential that we have if we continue on this path of inner cultivation. What we call now intuition, later will be the norm, because we will just perceive things, and why not? We might see other beings, and who knows? But remember, you can only tell to your teacher.
Well, the thing is, the Buddha explained. The Buddha
If you become a monk or a nun, you can only tell to your teacher. Otherwise, you make problems. The people around, what being, what ghost, what? No. So it's just conscious, right?
Yeah. So,
but
what
yeah.
can I finish with
Yes.
this first? And so, whatever the Buddha explained about the senses is only these 6. So, eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and the mind. So whatever the mind can know, maybe in this category, maybe we put some other wordings or see, but the Buddha never used the word intuition. So it's the mind knowing something.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
Some 10 years ago, it was a fashion that instead of just learning to see things with your eyes, to learn how to see with your
With your
hands.
hands.
I practice it and really works. And I also know that ancient Mexicans develop more senses. One is seeing in the dark. It means that you can choose things without using light. And even the most important exercise was running at night in the forest at full speed. So that means that you can develop more senses. The Buddha is telling us that you can even see with your hands.
No,
But
technically
you can
no.
touch with your hands and know what it is. The mind can see in the mind what it is.
No, because it's
No,
not
but you
touching.
cannot
It's
see.
like
don't touch.
there are children, and I have seen this with,
Yes, I
have
did
seen
it
this
and I
happening.
practice it.
with the eyes
Blindfold.
completely covered, and you show a picture, and without touching, it
Yeah,
describes
I've seen
exactly
that.
what is there.
Yeah, it's
I have-
the development of sensitivity of
Of the touch.
the
No,
of
they're not
the
touching.
of the
Yeah,
temperature of colors.
Yes, so that
Yes,
is
yes.
the temperature
Let's-
and
let's
color,
go.
but it is through the touch because
Exactly.
the eye
Look,
is not in
everything-
the hand, so it is not possible
Everything
to
is the
see.
universe is alive.
Mhm.
We cannot say technically that visual consciousness is happening. They are translating it onto a visual object, yes. But color, I dare to say that color has temperature,
Yes.
color has
Yes,
vibration.
yes.
Then the touch comes and can experience the thing and then feel
The mind
the
sees,
thing that was to be seen.
but not the
A
eye.
very heightened and developed sensitivity of the hand. We may say, have you ever go in the forest and touch a tree and realize that after you touch the tree your hand is vibrating? Have you felt that? It's unbelievable, the sense of you can feel like wow, it was, our senses are beyond what we can believe. I cannot say that visual consciousness was arising through the eyes because it's possible. The hand does not perceive sight. That a picture emits vibration and temperature, I'm for it. Because the universe is much, matter is alive. So, and in that sense, but to see, I'm not. And I want to add something, my dear family. Do you realize the attachment we have, and I just want to put it because I also had it in the past, the attachment we have to intuition, something in ourselves wish to believe that something else is taking care, and we can put somewhere the things that we don't understand, we can put them somewhere. So just I want to put, because I also shared it, there is some kind of, we can experience it in our culture, there is some kind of reluctancy to say it doesn't exist. Just to put, let's continue, I'm just putting it out, and let's continue looking at the how sensitive we can become. But for senses, for a sight, for the ears to listen color or something, there might be other. Remember, we only see the 7 colors of the rainbow. Who knows, we might perceive X-ray and the heat and all these things. We definitely perceive it. When we come to the heat, we can, without seeing, we can touch. But,
Yes. So it. What you're saying is possible, but we cannot call that seeing. It's on seeing by the mind.
perceiving
yes?
an image
Because
through the hand.
eye consciousness, seeing visible object, see through the eye. It's only can only through the eye. So through the hands, it is through tangible object, the heat or the temperature or the vibration or anything. Then the mind sees it in the mind, but that is not eye consciousness.
Yes.
That's mind. Yes.
He can tell you
And
what
what
it is.
about
Yes.
what you can say about this situation? There is, because this also I have seen.
Yes.
There are people that not only describe the picture, and I understand that is the vibration and the temperature
Possible.
of the colors, but not only describe the picture. Let's say it's a picture of you there. No? There's a picture, and the person describes the picture, but also describes the rest of the room, describe what is happening here, and the person that took the picture, and the emotions of everybody there. So
Look, I have a friend. I was in the music school in La UDG, and I have a friend that is blind. He see better than all of us.
Yes, yes.
I was coming into the school, and he was on the third floor, and he was screaming, "Hey, Raúl!" And I used to turn, "Where is Hugo? Where is Hugo?" There is Hugo. He saw me before I saw him that I have eyes. If I can tell you the things that he told us about things, one time, and that's just
The
perception,
color of
his
the
eye
shirts,
doesn't
yes,
work.
it's
One
perception,
time,
not perception.
one time he comes to my house, and then my sister comes in, and then he tells her the following: "Why are you dressed like that? Are you sad?" She was dressed in black. He told her, "Why are you dressed like that? Are you sad?" And she says like that, and we all look at her, and she was in black, and we were like, so our senses, we use them very little just to move on,
Yeah.
but actually our senses have a lot to do.
Yeah.
He was looking, seeing, unbelievable. He
With the
even
mind
he
or
even
with
put
other
me.
senses.
With the mind.
He even put
With
us
the
in the.
mind.
Just to tell you the last one. It's not very pleasant, but he even put me in very uncomfortable situations. One time we come onto the bus, and then we arrive, and then like a joke. I mean, we were kind of teenagers, and he says, "This lady in front is in her period," and she was just looking, and I'm like, "Oops." Let's go to the back. So he was imagining and she was like red, and I'm like red, and I'm like, "Oh, well, let's move to the back," like this. Imagine, so yeah, unbelievable. And more things. So yes, our senses, and he cannot see. We cannot say that he was seeing, but he was seeing. So our
Through
senses,
other
my friend,
senses,
he
he
was
received
perceiving.
through other senses.
It was not intuition.
And
He
the
knew.
mind can see.
He
or
knew.
Can see in
Overcompensate. Yeah.
the mind. Yeah.
Sharon, just to
Unbelievable.
finish,
Yes.
we can say that the mind uses the body as an instrument of perception.
Yes.
Yes.
Obviously, like through
And
the
we can
eye,
increase
see
them.
through
And
the
we
ear.
exactly.
And life asks very little from us. We are very due because we are given everything. Here it is. Here is TV. Here is phone. No, don't do nothing. Don't do nothing. Here is free. Just pay a little bit, and then like this. But our senses, if we are by ourselves in the mountain, like the head chief Luciano said, that his senses, when he was in the war, he said, when I was in the war in Vietnam, he said, I could listen a mosquito 1 kilometer away. Imagine he was standing on the top of the trees, and the Viet Congs were down. And he said that he was as quiet as a leaf. He said our breath could not be here because they were down, and they were Vietnamese. They knew their thing, and they were on top of the trees. And he said that unbelievably. And then he said that when the war finished, his senses just came back to normal. I mean, he already knew his possibilities, and that's why when we arrived, his sensitivity was not that he was magical. The war itself made him so aware, and his senses grew so much because his life was depending on it. So our life, it's a matter of life and death. If we take care of it, it's as that. If we are due, we perceive like this. If we are alert, unbelievable. We have extreme possibilities, but no magic on it. That's the thing we need to take away.
Yes. Okay, so let's.
It's already poetic and magical
Yes.
actually, but no reality.
Let's go for tea.
3 minute break, my dear
Yes.
family, and we have 20 minutes more.
Okay. So now actually there are still more diri and more things to come. So breathe in and breathe out. Okay. So now we have seen that there are objects, different objects, that the mind can take all kinds of objects. So let's say for chittas, for the mind, those chittas that arises from mind door, because we have seen those that is eye door, ear door, and the five sense doors. No, for the mind doors, it can know also these kind of objects, and also with five sense objects. Let's say, for example, we just saw the receiving consciousness and the determining consciousness, the javanas and the tadaravanas. All these can also take this kind of objects, yes? And at the same time, it can also take mental objects, all the other 6 types of mental objects. So at the end is a summary. What we can say is there are 67 chittas that arises only through mind door. And this is just a number that you don't have to remember, just so that you know the other types of chittas. They take all objects. So it can be past, can be present, can be future, and can be time-free as well. So what means time-free? Here, our past object is okay. Now we remember the ice cream yesterday, or as something in the past. Then present object is something that is happening,
Really happening.
in the moment right now, that we can see, we can hear, we can smell.
Real life.
And future objects can be those objects that we understand that it is going to arise. Yes. Say for example, I know tomorrow I'm going to eat tacos. Let's say, so that taste or whatever it may be. So a future object, it is possible.
Imagine.
Then time-free, meaning a concept or nibbana. Yes, time-free, because concept you cannot say that it belongs to the past or it belongs to the present or it belongs to the
House
future.
is house
It's, concept
every
is
time.
it's without time.
Well,
Yes.
the concept of house is house.
The concept without time. And nibbana also is time-free. It's not yesterday or it's not past or future. So mind can take all objects, basically all objects, that be it past, present, future, or time-free. So this is the main point about objects. Now we have seen the objects of eye door, ear door, nose door, tongue door, body door, and mind door already. Yes, but do you remember that there are some chittas that are door free?
Yes.
No door.
Yeah.
Yes. So what are they? Those 19 vipaka chittas, 19 resultant consciousness, which are 2 santirana, upeka santirana, the 2 receiving consciousness with equanimity, those sense sphere resultant consciousness with roots, 5 material resultant, non-material resultant, when they perform the functions of rebirth, linking, bhavanga, and death consciousness. When it is that time, then they are door free. Remember?
Yes.
Yes, yes. So we have seen already all those chittas, what kind of object they take. Those with door, and how about these 19 without door? What do they take? What kind of objects do they take? So now we're going to see this. Yes. Okay. So.
Pónganse los cinturones, señoras y señores.
So of course, only when they perform this function, no? Yes, because for example, santirana, receiving consciousness. Let's say if it happens in the eye door process, is receiving a present visible object. Yes. Then present visible object, then there's nothing else to talk about it. But when it performs the function of rebirth linking, bhavanga, and chuti, then it is not taking the present object. So what kind of object does it take during this time? So this is a very interesting thing that we are
Rebirth,
going to
life,
bhavanga,
continuity,
and life
and
continuum,
when at the
death.
moment of death, what object does the mind takes? at
during
that time.
these kind of chittas. Okay, so these 19 types of resultant chittas, actually it can take all 6 kind of objects. Yes, so to understand this a little bit more, then we will go into details now. We have to go back to the rebirth process, mental process. So remember that we said in this particular lifetime of this person, then during rebirth, when rebirth consciousness arises, which is one of the, he's a human being, no? So it would be a kusala vipaka, no? There's a
Fruit of good
fruit
action.
of wholesome result.
That's why
Yes.
he became human.
So and then through this time it arises, and throughout his lifetime as Bhavanga, the same type of chittas continue to arise, but now serving the function of Bhavanga. And then the last moment of his life, the death consciousness that arises also is the same type of the resultant consciousness, and serving now as the function of death consciousness. Yes, so here is the same type of chittas, so that means they have the same type of object as well. Yes, now we will go into it. Now before that, then there is another life, the previous life of this person, and death consciousness arises immediately after that, then rebirth linking arises, no? And with this person also Bhavanga also happened in the same way. And in this previous life, present life, and the future life, let's say for example, if he was to be reborn as a human being again, then again after Chuti, then Patisandhi will arise, another resultant will arise, then Bhavanga, same type will arise, and he is reborn as another person in this case, yes?
Netherlands, this one was in Netherlands, this was in New Orleans, and that was in mainland China. Nice trip. Nice trip.
Okay, so now we have seen a little graphic previously of how it, briefly how it works. Now let's go to the precise chittas of how it works. Let's take the past life and the present life. So this person during her lifetime, then many chittas arise, and the last moment, last process of this lifetime, what happens is that there is the last mental process that is called death process. Yes, like all the mental process, the death process arise, then the present life process start. Yes, so Chuti is the last chitta of this lifetime, and Patisandhi is the first chitta of this lifetime. So past life and present life divided here at the moment. Yes. Okay. So what happens in the last mental process is that here we are taking a mental process as a death process, but there are many varieties. It can also be a 5 sense door process. It can be I door process, E door process. So we can die with also I door process or E door or other sense door.
We can die seeing. The last thing we did in that life was seeing something or listening something, and then after seeing or listening, death came in.
It's possible. But now, for just as an example, we're taking a mind door process as
he was thinking before dying, not
as
seeing before dying.
As the last process. Okay, so what happened is that in this lifetime, in the last mental process, Bhavanga happens. Then the mind door, averting consciousness arises. It turns to some kind of objects. Yes. Then Javana happens, and here there is only 5 Javana in the death process because the mind is very weak already. Usually it's 7.
It's about to die. So weak that
it's so weak. Then it only happens 5 kind of Javana. Then Tadaramana can happen or not, depending on situation, many variations. No, sometimes Bhavanga also happen. But anyway, now taking this kind of process, then Chuti arises, then die. Okay, so what happened here is that she might remember in that time and before dying, the near death process, then she might remember something that she has done when she was young. Let's say she was a nurse and then she was helping a little boy. And so at that moment, she might remember that incident, and then she might feel the way how she used to feel, like when she was doing this kusala action. Yes, so she was feeling like, or maybe she was feeling happy, or she was feeling loving, or like helping this little kid. So this kind of object can appear in her mind at that time. So in this kind of object is called karma, and it's an action that she has done during her lifetime. No, it could be kusala. Here now we're taking the example of kusala. It could be akusala also. If she was a hunter, then she might see that herself killing something. No, also possible. So any kind of action that she has done then might arise at this moment, may appear to her mind at that time. Or another type of object can appear, which could be some kind of instruments or some kind of things that is related to that karma. To that action. Say for example here, she might see the medical instruments, or she might see the room where she was helping the boy, or she can see her uniform or something. So something that is related to that action. Also these things can appear to her mind in the last moment.
Before
So
dying.
this is called karma nimitta. Nimitta means sign, so sign of karma, so something that is related to that karma. Or also it is possible that she might see an image of a destination where she is going to be reborn to. So she might see this might appear to her mind because of this good action. Then she is to be reborn as a human being in New Orleans, and so she might see the house where she is going to be reborn to. And so this kind of image that appears to her mind at that moment is called gati nimitta, meaning sign of destination, sign of destiny. So where she's going next. So she might see that. So in the last mental process or near-death process, or a few processes before, then in those jhana, then she might take these three kinds of objects might appear to her mind. One of these.
Seeing a person in that context, if she sees a person but not an action itself.
It
It will be
depends
an
on
nimitta.
what if
Okay.
the
It
person
will be an,
or maybe
a
the
sign
boy
of that action.
or maybe
Okay.
the boy she might
Okay.
see or something. So it depends on the karma, the action that she has done, or something related to that action, or where she's going to be
Where
reborn
she's
to.
going.
Or she can even see the mother's womb also, no?
The
She
mind
see
can
the
perceive a
house.
womb.
She can see
You may see a womb, the womb of your future mind just before dying. It is, remember my dear family, this is 1/9 of a 9th billionth of a consciousness that is coming to the next one. So actually the mind is just perceiving the place little 1/9 of a billionth of a second before coming and entering the next life. A being teacher says, and the Buddha described that we can see where we are going.
Yes.
Just
It is
a little bit
possible.
before, as we were mentioning, before
Or
it
some
happens.
process.
No, something.
No, or some process before also.
Yes.
Some process before also. So not only this
On
one,
this
maybe
one, but
some process before, but very quickly, not very fast. Okay, so any one of these might be the objects of the near-death process. Any one of these.
Quick question:
Yes.
is it possible to see the sign of destiny if you haven't ever seen that place before?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
You
yes,
see
yes,
that
yes.
thing? It can be Mars, or it can be
Mars, I don't
it
know.
can be another
Which
country.
one is
Wherever
Mars?
there is a being, wherever there is a being with the same frequency that you are ending up this life and you are just falling and your karma just matches with that mother, because actually you go with the mother. The father left the sperm days ago. How long it takes? 8 hours to 2 days. He left the sperm there and the sperm is just going, and then the father has nothing to do at that moment, just the mother, the womb, and then wherever. And if you may see the womb of a crocodile or something, I mean, you don't know where you're gonna end up. And then whoosh, you just see or the house or the place. It is,
Or a village, or if you see a forest, then possibly then it can be reborn as an animal.
as a
Or
deva.
you see deva realms, then the other devas, or if you see mansions, celestial mansions or something. No, it's
So
possible.
when people, it is very common that people start saying before dying, hello, such and such, hello, so long time no see, and all this might be possible. Definitely possible.
Maybe she's seeing
That the
some
person,
kind of a
that the person that is
related
seeing
to
the
his
brother or
father.
the mother,
Uh-huh.
the teacher will say it might not be possible because that person, if he was enlightened, is not present anymore, and if it was reborn, is reborn not as your mother again.
But also,
So the
but
mind
no,
just make
no,
connections
it could
with him.
be a sign
Or a
of,
sign.
or sign of something
Ah.
related to that person that she has done some kusala or akusala with. That is the mind projected that kind of image, no? So it's not exactly that person is there present. It could be also, but it could be not. Yes. So at the last moment of death, then the karma or karma nimitta or gati nimitta, one of these object will be presented to the mind at that time. So what is here very interesting is that before we say that it is very important the last moments of the mind, but actually it is not what the mind does in that moment, because the mind is so weak, it's lying in the bed,
It's dying.
it's dying, and it's not doing kusala, not doing akusala at that moment actually, but it is a very strong karma that she has done in her lifetime
Good or
that
bad?
presents this image to the mind, and then she reacts to this image feeling the same way she used to feel when she was doing this kusala, or she sees some kinds of these instruments or something related, or the destinations of because of
Sign
the
of
karma.
destination.
So that's why the last process is important, yes, but not exactly what it is doing. But now we will come more details into that. Okay, so these objects that is being taken by the last process, here Mindor Averting and the Javanas is being taken here, actually will also become
The apple of the next life.
will also become the object of Patisandhi and Bhavanga of next life. Yes? So in this present life, what the object is being taken by rebirth linking and Bhavanga and the Chuti of this lifetime is actually what is being presented in the last moment of the last process of the life.
Last
So
life.
these three will be the object of his. During his lifetime, he will see this object again and again. Well, he won't see it actually, but I mean, Bhavanga will
We'll
take
touch
this
it, we'll
object all
touch
the
it.
time.
But
And it
also
arises,
not touch it,
yes?
what to do?
Okay, so in a bigger picture, so she died with one of these objects, taking this object, then in his lifetime, the Patisani and all the Bhavanga that will happen in his lifetime also take these three objects. And Chuti, when he dies, also again this object will also be present, this Chuti Chitta also take this
You remember,
again,
Andreita?
but
We made an explanation years
a
ago
graphic,
about it.
yes.
Yeah, we remember.
Okay, and now, but in this present lifetime, when he's going to die, in the last near-death process, what he's going to take now is this Javana is going to take another object, Kama,
Another this.
Kama Nimitta or Gati Nimitta, but of him,
Of this life.
of this life.
And that one
yes.
will bring to the other one.
Yes.
So it is
Oh,
like a
And let's finish with the
Yes.
graphic first. So in this lifetime, this little girl, her Patisandhi and the Bhavanga is going to be these
the green one.
objects of his life, no? Of what he has taken. It can be this life or others' life also. But it will be what happens, what the Javana has taken in the near-death process of this present life.
So the last action of a life is the taste of the next life. And that's how it's, but this one, the Chuti, the real last Chitta of that life was
Yes, previous
based on
one.
this one, based on that one. So this one gave you remember, yellow apple? Then the yellow apple, this one yellow apple, or purple apple, purple, green apple, so this one gives the taste of the next life, and we will be coming back to it every billions of times per second. Every time our mind gets into unconscious, we will be touching that object based on the last action we did on the previous
Although
life.
we cannot see it now because the Bhavanga Chittas, they are inactive, yes? They are not active mental process, no? They are inactive, but every Chitta, we said every Chitta that arises must take an object. So what kind of object that Bhavanga take is actually the object of the previous life. But we don't know what it is because we are not conscious about the Bhavanga, no? It is not the
Only with
process.
Janas we could go back and check what happened in the last moment, so then we will know what kind of Bhavanga it's
Yeah,
time
okay,
already.
yeah. Okay, so let me see, just to finish in a
Which
good
one is?
place.
So how you see this?
A ver, una pregunta.
Very complex.
Do you see it?
Yeah.
Una pregunta.
Yes?
It's not so complex.
It's
You
not
will see.
complex,
You it's
not
not.
complex.
In next
No, I
chapter,
mean,
we
it's
will.
complex,
It will
but it's
be.
not complicated.
Yes, pregunta. And
Todo este proceso mental, me
Yes.
voy a decir yo,
yes. Sadu.
que se muere, de momento va a estar en una celulita así de, o sea, en un nuevo ser.
See,
Depending
Sí,
on what kind of being you are reborn to.
they
no?
call it if it is a
As
human being.
Human.
Yes,
Okay.
the teachers call it kalala.
Or
And
cocodrilo.
yeah, it's kalala. It's una
Or a
babita.
deva,
Un
or
mosquito.
something other beings.
Sí.
The teacher said, the Buddha explained that
En una
kalala, the size
célula,
of a
una
kalala.
esperma y un óvulo, ahí
Yes.
está mi proceso mental anterior.
Yeah, all the potential,
It
karmic
arrives-
potential
it arrives
just
together.
arrives there. It
It
just arrives
arrives
there.
together.
And it starts generating the separation of the cells to become a new human being or whatever it was.
Pues la
And-
memoria, la
Look-
Yes, it is like the seed. In a seed, you open a seed and there is no
No
trunk,
seed.
there is no leaves, there is no
No
fruits, there is no
potential.
mango. But the potential is there. So you pass so small. You see the oak, you see the how you call this big tree that is out here? La parota. Parota is so big. he sees it this time, these eyes. So yes, when we pass, all the potential
All
is
the
there,
potentials.
but only on the seed, only one sperm and one egg together, but the consciousness is full on there. All the potential there, but not yet eyes, not yet ears, not yet nose. So at that moment, the mind is not really active. That's why in the last one, Charana was putting Patti Sandi and then a lot of Bhavangas, because the mind is not perceiving anything yet until it develops ears, then it will start listening, until it develop eye, etc., etc., until later on, a few months later.
Look,
But it's
here,
not active, just
now there
floating.
is two points I want to add to this, is that we are actually dying every moment, because the mind, this mind arises and it passes away, and another mind arises and
Forever.
passes away. So the last moment, Shuti arises and it passes away. So the consciousness does not go nowhere. So it just, the next consciousness that is the
Appears
next one
there.
appears in the
In another
in the
body.
worm,
In the crocodile.
in the worm,
Let's
or
move it.
in the womb, or in with together with that material quality, it arises together in somewhere else in China, let's say. Yeah. So it is not that it is no difference between this arise and pass away and this arise pass away, but because it is on the last moment, as we call it, a past life, present life, and a future life. No. But actually it is, again, is the same process, arise and pass away, arise and pass away. And the potential of this one then to this one to this one is the same way, like the teachers always say that the music is not stored in the guitar. Yes, when there is the musician, when there is the guitar, the strings, everything is fine, and when he plays it, then music comes
Sure,
out.
comes
But
out.
it is not being recorded or stored inside somewhere. No, not inside the musician, not inside
Just
the
the
guitar.
potentiality.
But when conditions come together, then it sounds. Yes, when all conditions. So in the same way, let's say when conditions come together, then memory will arise, or something, the potentials or those seeds, like the karma, the good thing or bad thing we have done, it's also not, we don't carry a bag full of seeds nowhere. It's just potential, then when conditions comes, then it can arise.
But it will
Okay.
influence.
Yes?
No se pierda en el próximo capítulo, next chapter, number 4, all of these things will become
Yes.
much more clear, because now we are jumping a little bit because of objects, but
Okay.
we're gonna make it like no doubt later on.
Yes. So the main point here now is to understand what type of chittas take what kind of objects. Yes. So those Bhavanga and Patisanti takes the object of a previous life, the
Previous life.
near-death object of the previous lifetime. Yes.
Isn't it amazing? Unbelievable. Logical, isn't it? It makes sense. Like, of course, this gives that because it's there.
Because of
Nature
karma,
is
very powerful.
nature is doing its job. Cause and effect, cause and effect, cause and effect.
Okay, so this 19 Vipaka Chitta, we just finished this and we'll close because because of time. So these 19 Vipaka Chittas, when they perform the function of rebirth linking, Bhavanga and Chuti, then they take Kama, Kama Nimitta and Gati Nimitta, any
As
of
object.
this as object. Yes? Okay, so it can be 6 kind of object, it can be anything, no? Depends on what kind
Action.
of karma appeared in her mind in that moment, no? So it can be any of this, but it is called, specially called Kama, Kama Nimitta and Gati Nimitta. Okay? So it can be past also, it can be present also, and it can be concept, but it cannot be future because it must be something that he has experienced, no? It cannot be something, the karma must be something that she has done, it cannot be something.
Accepting Gati
the future,
Nimitta,
no?
maybe?
Accepting.
Except, yes, this is actually, this is like a concept, no? Like
Okay.
something
You'll
that
be-
she
you'll be
sees
perceived
there,
as a
no?
concept.
But present is
But it will be a
past is
real
future.
concept happening at the present moment. Just is looking a little bit like this.
Okay.
Cannot be a future object.
Alright.
Okay, okay, so we will stop here
Okay.
and then we will continue next week with a little bit more. Actually, we have a story, but okay.
Yes,
next
keep
week.
it for later.
Aww.
That's a good story. I will tell. Very nice, but we will keep you. No se pierdan el próximo capítulo. A la misma hora, el mismo canal. Nos vamos a quedar así el día de hoy. Señoras y señores, que se mueva, que se mueva.
Okay. Okay, so
Good.
stop.
And also, we need to leave, actually, go to the talk. So, we put ourselves, may all this inspiration, may all this wonder turns to become wisdom. May all this wonder of nature become wisdom for the benefit of ourselves, for the benefit of our families, and all beings. May this wisdom and understanding and love to learn accompany us throughout samsara until we liberate and exchange all that knowledge onto love, caring for oneself, caring for others, compassion, and happiness, real happiness. We remember our teachers, remember all our family, and all beings in the universe. May all of us be free from suffering at the physical level and at the mental level. With that in mind, we recite Idano Punyam Nibanasa Pachayo Hotu. Idano Punyam Nibanasa Pachayo Hotu. Idano Punyam Nibanasa Pachayo Hotu. May these fruits be beneficial to all beings, especially those who suffer more than us. There are more people who suffer than are happy. May these benefits go to all of them, and we recite Idano Punyam Sabasatanam Vajimam. Idano Punyam Sabasatanam Vajimam. Idano Punyam Sabasatanam Vajimam. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Blessings for all the family, blessings for all. Oh, we rejoice in the acts of kindness and detachment that you present to the Sangha, me being representative at this moment, so it's not the person but the whole body, 2,600 years of goodness. So, if you wish to do this also. And we repeat, Sanghasa, Dhamma, Nibbānasa, Pachayo, Hotu, Sadhu, Sadhu, Sadhu. May this kindness to the Sangha be cause for the realization of full liberation.
Sadhu,
Thank you so much, and see you next week. Don't worry, my dear friends. Chapter 4 is coming, and we will understand all this. But now we are starting to have a nimita, a little bit like just like this, like looking what is coming. So very interesting.